The Olympics did not start off the way that it was supposed to. I don't know. The funny thing is, let me just start with this. I haven't watched any of it. I know someone had the basketball game in on the back. I don't feel. I know some people are posting they're excited about the Olympics, Chris, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I'm into the summer. Maybe it's because they started off on the wrong foot. But I'm not digging the Olympics this year.
I must confess, if I'm going to watch Olympics, it's going to be winter over summer, and I'm really just not. I was never into it, to be clear. To be perfectly honest, I was never into it. But if I were inclined to tune into it and saw what we saw at these opening ceremonies, I'd turn it off just as fast. No doubt about it.
Hilton, the beginning seemed to me like they do this opening scene that caught fire because it depicted. I mean, I don't know how. Like, we'll get into what they're saying now, but it was pretty obvious that it was an attempt to mimic Da Vinci's Last Supper.
Yeah.
From that, I was just like, okay, I don't know. I mean, it's like a trailer for a movie. If the trailer sucks, I usually don't want to go see the movie. And I felt like, I don't know. I just don't. It didn't do it for me. It didn't pop. I didn't even see it. I missed the opening ceremonies. All I heard about was this. I saw it online. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, take out that it was just a mockery of the Christian belief. Of course it was, even though they're denying it. But this doesn't meet the moment for the Olympics. Okay, people train their whole lives to go to the Olympics to take home the gold. Like, this is a serious business, and it takes over people's lives. If you could give a trophy to that performance, that would have been a participation trophy. Like, that doesn't win any kind of outstanding performance. It was absolutely awful. I just saw pictures circulating around about drag queens, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, the left's doing what they're going to do. Had no idea it was related to the Olympics, and was in complete shock when I figured out that the two were connected.
They issued, I mean, you mentioned they issued what I like to call a non-apology. Yep. And I'm sort of like, I love analyzing apologies because Washington, D.C. does non-apologies better than anybody. And I feel like when you're sorry, it's like, Chris, I'm sorry that I said the things that I did. It was not my intention. I realize now that what I said was horrible and it hurt your feelings. And I heartfeltly apologize. I mean, to me, that's, you acknowledge that what you did hurt somebody else. And therefore you express and ask for their forgiveness. This is sort of like, clearly there was never intention to show disrespect. The opening ceremony tried to celebrate community tolerance. First of all, it's Olympics. It should be celebrating like prowess and strength. And like, we believe this ambition was achieved. Okay, so they actually say that it was successful. If people have taken any offense, we're really sorry. So if people have taken offense to us depicting the Last Supper with a bunch of drag queens, and by the way, one of the drag queen who is Jewish, queer, and lesbian who played Jesus in this depiction, labeled the performance New Gay Testament on Instagram.
That's right.
So the idea that it wasn't intending to be offensive or that they didn't know this was going to happen doesn't pass the smell test. The main person says that's what they were going for, Chris.
Yeah, I think that fat chick pretending to be Jesus meant to be at the Ozempics, not the Olympics.
Oh. I was starting to be like Christian and kind, and Chris Stigall going straight for the gut. Holy smokes.
Literally.
At that.
Yeah. So I think this is interesting, Hilton. Jillian Michaels, you remember her. She did The Biggest Loser, very fitness guru kind of whatever. She posted, and I thought this is interesting. Dear fellow gays, we demand tolerance and respect, but then make a mockery of something sacred for over 2 billion Christians. This type of hypocrisy and lack of understanding is a bad look. We get outraged when the extreme right bashes us, but then we do this expletive. What kind of reaction do you think they'll have towards the LGBTQ plus community after this? This is not how we break down barriers if you build them.
Yeah, she was absolutely correct. I mean, they are asking for the very thing that they won't dole out themselves. They're asking for acceptance and tolerance, but they won't tolerate Christian belief. And this is my, litmus test for them. Try doing this with any other religion. They would not even dare to do this with the Muslim community, with Islam, because they would think it's very disrespectful to Muslims. But they'll do it without blinking an eye towards Christianity because they hate us. And there's always been this hatred and an okay to hate towards Christians, especially here in America.
Yeah, Chris, the funny thing is Bishop Barron, Word of Fire, had this hot take the other day, and then he posted this video today about the reaction, this non-apology that I'm talking about. I want to play just a minute of it for everyone to understand the outrage that he shared.
This is Bishop Barron. You know, a few days ago I did a video complaining about this outrageous opening ceremony at the Olympics, and the video went viral. And frankly, I had no intention of returning to the issue until this morning. I saw the so-called apology from the organizing committee, and I thought it's anything but an apology. In fact, it's kind of a masterpiece of woke duplicity. And so I just wanted to say a few things, because if they felt this is meant to mollify Christians, I would think again. Here's some of the things that were said. Clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. Give me a break. So we have a group of drag queens cavorting in a kind of sexually provocative way, clearly an imitation of Da Vinci's Last Supper, which presents to the world the Last Supper of Jesus. And no disrespect was meant. You think anyone takes that seriously? I love this. We tried to celebrate community tolerance. Yeah, tolerance. Except for those pesky 2.6 billion Christians on the planet.
So Chris, the thing that I thought was interesting, I was texting some media folks over the weekend, and I'm like, the Dems, like, I hope the right picks up on this. And the first answer I got from some of the media types is, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this backlash about the opening ceremony. Oh, do you have anything on it? I'm like, what? You guys got to be kidding me. Like, everybody on the right that I have seen was expressing some degree of outrage or disgust about this. And yet, and I'm thinking, oh, devout Catholic Joe Biden, he's going to come out and say something, right? I mean, like, this is the fundamental issue that I see over and over again. There's an attack, as Hilton pointed out. You go after the Catholics and the Christians, and it's a free pass. It's like, what are you talking about? I didn't even see it. No one cares. If this had been an attack on some made-up religion that a bunch of people on the internet practiced, there would be outraged. And yet 2 billion Christians, and it's like, I don't even know what you're talking about from the media. And no one, the Biden administration hasn't had to put out a statement. The Olympics didn't respond till today. I mean, they've gotten pass after pass. It wasn't until a couple corporations said anything that they did anything.
Well, it's because as Christians, and this is biblical, we've been marginalized since the very beginning, and we understand that, and we're called to react peaceably, speak, but we don't get violent. I mean, and that's what
I'm not violent, but what about an answer, Chris? Like, what about having to say, hey, Joe Biden, you keep talking about being a devout Catholic. Are you offended by this? Your wife, Jill, is over there. Are you guys going to put out a statement? I mean, to Hilton's point, if this had been, they would have unequivocally put out a statement. If they had attacked Muslims, they would have been outraged. She would have left in protest.
Oh, sure.
And yet a pass. They don't even have to acknowledge that it happened.
No, but then, of course, you're talking about a guy. I mean, if you're talking specifically about Joe Biden, you're talking about a guy who says that, butchering children and chemically castrating kids is letting them live up to God's given potential for them in a State of the Union address. So this is not exactly a guy that understands the good book. He's also as pro-abortion as they come. So if you're looking for a Christian compass, I wouldn't look for it in the Biden family.
Yeah. Hilton, to your point, like, it's funny, like I always joke with people that when I was at the RNC, if little Timmy at Thomas Jefferson Middle School offended somebody, they'd call the RNC and ask us to weigh in. And I'm not kidding. That's literally, there were days in which I'm like, I don't even know what you're like. That's ridiculous. This is some state senator and you're calling the RNC. And they were like, well, there's outrage on the online and whatever. And I'm like, here we are getting worldwide condemnation, right? And no one in the US, NBC didn't have to respond to it. Why not NBC? Why not any of these guys? And so Hilton, it's like, are we just not putting enough pressure? But I felt like when I brought this up with the media type saying, are you guys even asking them? The answer was, oh, what are you talking about? We didn't even
No,
see
it's
it.
like we're afraid to fight fire with fire. We've always this is the problem with Republicans. We've always kind of taken the back seat and just gotten whipped around. This is the same thing that's happening with white males. They're the ones who are getting, pushed around. They're getting cut out of jobs because there's too many of them. You can disrespect white males, white cisgender males, all you want, and you get a pass to do it. But you do that to a minority, you do that to a Hispanic woman, a black male, you're going to get all heat and hellfire from the left because of it. And I think it's going to take a lot of people. Like, it just completely shocks me that you said no one knew what to say about it. This is where we have to punch hard. Like, they're disrespecting our religion, but we should respect our own religion and punch back.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.